Welcome to Magic Monday. My name is Rick Schnabel from Life Beyond Limits, and today I wanted to talk specifically about some of the stir that's been going on around Greta Thunberg's plea to the world about climate change. Now, the thing that I want to talk about specifically is how to bring magic into your life. And I believe that with some of the things that have been going on around Greta Thunberg's plea, that magic is almost near impossible. And the reason it's near impossible is because when we get on the attack and we are constantly attacking one another, then it's difficult to even feel good about yourself or feel good about the world or feel good about anything for that matter. Natalie Martin posted this particular post, which was about the fact that what is actually going on is it's a bit of a shred down towards females themselves. I'd like to show you this particular video.
If we show emotion, we're called dramatic. If we want to play against men, we're nuts. And if we dream of equal opportunity, delusional. When we stand for something, we're unhinged.
It's super, it's gonna need to calm down.
When we're too good, there's something wrong with us. And if we get angry, we're hysterical or rational or just being crazy. But a woman running a marathon was crazy.
Officials tried to pull her off the course.
A woman boxing was crazy. A woman dunking? Crazy. Coaching an NBA team? Crazy. A woman competing in a hijab, changing her sport, landing a double cork 1080, or winning 23 Grand Slams, having a baby, and then coming back for more? Crazy, 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 and crazy. So if they want to call you crazy, fine. Show them what crazy can do.
If you missed the plea to humanity by Greta Thunberg, then this is the actual video that started it all.
Greta, your first climate strike was a lonely event a little over a year ago, and in the intervening time you have sparked the interest of millions, literally, of children around the globe demanding action for climate change. What's your message to world leaders today?
My message is that we'll be watching you. This is all wrong. I shouldn't be up here. I should be back in school on the other side of the ocean. Yet you all come to us young people for hope. How dare you? You have stolen my dreams and my childhood with your empty words, and yet I'm one of the lucky ones. People are suffering, people are dying, entire ecosystems are collapsing. We are in the beginning of a mass extinction, and all you can talk about is money and fairy tales of eternal economic growth. How dare you? For more than 30 years, the science has been crystal clear. How dare you continue to look away and come here saying that you are doing enough when the politics and solutions needed are still nowhere in sight? You say you hear us and that you understand the urgency. But no matter how sad and angry I am, I do not want to believe that. Because if you really understood the situation and still kept on failing to act, then you would be evil, and that I refuse to believe. The popular idea of cutting our emissions in half in 10 years only gives us a 50% chance of staying below 1.5 degrees and the risk of setting off irreversible chain reactions beyond human control. 50% may be acceptable to you, but those numbers do not include tipping points, most feedback loops, additional warming hidden by toxic air pollution, or the aspects of equity and climate justice. They also rely on my generation sucking hundreds of billions of tons of your CO2 out of the air with technologies that barely exist. So a 50% risk is simply not acceptable to us, we who have to live with the consequences. To have a 67% chance of staying below a 1.5 degrees of global temperature rise, the best odds given by the IPCC, the world had 420 gigatons of CO2 left to emit back on January 1st, 2018. Today that figure is already down to less than 350 gigatons. How dare you pretend that this can be solved with just business as usual and some technical solutions? With today's emissions levels, that remaining CO2 budget will be entirely gone within less than 8.5 years. There will not be any solutions or plans presented in line with these figures here today, because these numbers are too uncomfortable and you are still not mature enough to tell it like it is. You are failing us. But the young people are starting to understand your betrayal. The eyes of all future generations are upon you. And if you choose to fail us, I say we will never forgive you. We will not let you get away with this. Right here, right now, is where we draw the line. The world is waking up, and change is coming whether you like it or not. Thank you.
Then there was this article by Lauren Rosewarne of the ABC titled "Why Greta Thunberg Triggers the Troglodytes Among Us," suggested that many of the attacks came from men. We could say that this social storm is about climate change. We could equally suggest that it's actually an attack on women, though I think it goes even further than that. I really truly believe that if we are going to create the world that we really truly want, a more peaceful world, a more harmonious world, a world that has a greater level of respect for one another, then it goes much deeper. It goes into our thoughts, our beliefs, our very thinking, our mindset. And if we think about it, many of the people that have been writing articles about what's been going on social media around climate change and Greta Thunberg has got a lot more to do with the fact that there is very much an old level thinking that still exists in the world today. I hate to say it, but it is coming very much from the baby boomers, and I'm certainly at the tail end of the baby boomers, and it seems to be coming more from men than women. However, there are some women, of course, that are also part of the tirade. Now, I believe that what we really need to be doing is we need to be changing the way that we think as people. And, you know, this whole idea that once upon a time what we could do, if someone did not meet our beliefs, we could declare war on them, we could shoot them, we could kill them. And of course, you know, a modern era came about, you know, post the 1940s Second World War. We started thinking quite differently, and no one, or well, most no one, didn't want a war ever again. Thankfully, we haven't had a world war since the 1940s, the Second World War, but we have been having a bit of a social war. Now, a social war is permissible in this day and age. We can all get up and we can all say what we want. But funny enough, many of those people that have got into the social network and started attacking anyone who supported Greta Thunberg equally would somehow start saying that they were offended that they themselves were being attacked. But it's that old psychological concept, perception equals projection. Whatever you think you're doing, quite often the world is doing back to you, or you're a mirror of it. That is, what happens in your world typically actually is going on in here first. If you go into a conversation with a gun, chances are you're going to have a gun drawn at you. And, as they say, violence begets violence. The thing that we need to do, I believe, to create more magic in our lives is we need to recognize the parts of us that are allowing us to perpetuate the sort of anger and frustration and vitriol that is perpetuating the same. And we have to start finding more peace within ourselves. Yes, I do believe that it is time that we embrace the feminine. And what I mean by that, I'm not talking about, putting women up there, and maybe I am. But what I'm really talking about is about accepting the feminine within us. The more kinder, the more nurturing, the more reflective, the more expanded in our thinking, and the less attacking. From a perspective of my own personal self, I, as a coach, I also get coached, and I have two coaches, one of which is a spiritual coach, which I want to focus on for a moment. One of the things that she has been asking me to do is to start to change my own thinking from this, absolute get it done type focus to more of an accepting type focus, and letting more magic come into my life by not forcing it so much. Now, I believe that is also some good advice for the world at large. I think we have been for so long forcing what we really want in life, really pushing so hard to get what we want realized. But what that often does is that's like diving into water, in that water has to be dispersed, people have to be dispersed, things have to be dispersed in order for us to get our way. And I think that's an old way of being. I think, sure, there are times when we need that, but it's a very masculine way of being and thinking. That we can't just force ourselves upon other people, and we can't just simply keep pushing as we do. Mind you, to balance this out, on the same token, for many, many years, I've sat on the sidelines, really beginning to think about some of the comments that I've been seeing on social media, and not really participating for the reason for not wanting to offend. However, given the recent posts where I have seen blatant attacks on even a defenseless 16-year-old girl, which I just think, even as a parent, or just as a person, I think is wrong. I think many of the attacks sounded some intellectual, but they really reduced to no more than a personal attack on another human being just because they didn't agree with what she was saying. My point is this. I believe that this attack that is going on around social media, around Greta Thunberg and her plea to humanity, really needs to stop. It's not about climate change. It's not about the masculine and feminine. It's not even about Greta Thunberg herself. Overall, it's about our thinking. The very thinking that creates attack is the same thinking that created wars all those years ago. The level of thinking where we believe that it's our God-given right to go out and attack someone who doesn't agree with your way of thinking and turn it personal is not the way that we build a world that we can really move forward with. Not an aspirational world, not the sort of world, in my mind, that is an evolved humanity. We call ourselves humankind. Where is the kindness? We need to get back to the essence of humankind. And I think what we need to do is we need to embrace the fact that a 16-year-old has an opinion and is willing to be courageous enough to get out there and share it, whether we agree with it or not. Whether climate change is real or a myth is not really the point. The point is that when our backyards turn into sewers and flow into our neighbours' yards, then we are responsible for that. We are the ones that need to consider what effluent is coming from our words, from our lives, from our industries. That needs to change. In order to create a magic Monday in our week, we need to start the week by putting out some great and wonderful energy out there. And that comes from our thoughts, that comes from our actions, and certainly from who we represent ourselves as. My name is Rick Schnabel, and thank you for sharing Magic Monday with me today.